Coach, as you go into LSU week, new coordinators for you guys, new coordinators for LSU. How difficult is it to game plan when you really don't know what you're going to see from either team?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. You try to scramble for film. I've been involved with teams that have played against Coach Pelini twice, who's, of course, in the middle of the defense there. But yeah, it's, you just kind of try to look at the film and do a combination of personnelling the team, and they have some new faces, coupled with the scheme that they're going to want to go with. And so it's been kind of a hodgepodge that way.
Go ahead and go to Steve, and then we'll go to Joel.
So, Coach, how close are you kind of settling the scout team into two deep and kind of getting those guys with their respective units?
Pretty close, and not perfectly close, but pretty close. Always room for somebody to rise up, show he can do something, and expand their role somewhere else on the field. But pretty close, at least for the first week.
I know, Coach, that you've said in the past that KJ has been ahead on things. Is you ready to declare him as possibly a starter? Is that still kind of open?
Well, it's somewhat open, but I think KJ's been getting the majority of the reps and has done a good job with them.
Go ahead and go to Ben, and then again, reminder to go ahead and put the questions in the chat, and we'll get you.
Mike, we were talking to Coach Mealy last night about the running back room, and obviously it feels like you guys have a lot of depth there. I mean, how many running backs do you feel comfortable rotating out of that group?
I think three, but that doesn't mean they won't have a significant role on special teams, and then also not just special teams, but then, you're an ankle injury away from somebody getting into the rotation. So, but I think they performed well collectively as a group.
Next question to Steve.
Coach, I know Zach Arnett is a Rocky Long disciple, and you kind of hired him, I know, with knowing some of his background there. Well, what's it been like kind of getting settled in with Zach, and how pleased are you with how things are going so far on defense?
Well, it's been really good because he's really intense, and of course he played linebacker and he behaves like one, but he's a really smart guy, and so I think he brings a lot of intensity. I think our players draw from it, and then, that's one thing players love is they love being unleashed and twists, slants, all stunts and line movement, and then also blitzing, and so he gives you a different look every time. I think it's made our offense better. I think in particular, what he does has allowed our offensive line to take bigger strides than perhaps they would have otherwise. And so I think it's been very positive. It's, I guess the quick answer is, it's been everything I thought it would be. The funny thing when you talk to him, he kind of hides the ball on how smart he is. He's a really, really smart guy.
We'll go ahead and go back to Joel. Go ahead, Joel.
Is there a position group or two or a position somewhere that you really have your eye on over the course of the next few days and leading up to the opener? Where I guess are some of the tighter position battles right now?
Shoot, I think virtually all of them, and it kind of depends which hour of the day you ask me, because it's a constant series of corrections. I think they're all pretty contested. The ones that I most contested, I'd say receiver. We're looking for some guys that love football so much that they don't want to give up any reps. And, right now we have some guys that do some good things, but we're looking for the saying we've been using around here a lot is we want guys that are consistently good rather than occasionally great. And so then, we have to work towards that. I think the O-line, we have the right people in there, but we're still working towards consistency there. I would say the secondary, there's some unanswered questions there. And then after that, I think our D-line plays hard and battles pretty well. We'd like to build a little more depth there and in at the linebacker position.
We'll go ahead and go to Steve, and then we'll get it over to Brian. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Coach, we've heard a lot about you guys, the defense repping against your offense and the air raid offense. How often do they rep against, run defense? How much of that practice do they get in? Or do you feel like they're getting an adequate amount at this point?
I think we're getting towards an adequate amount. We're working against scouts now, so they pretty much work against whatever they want to work against as far as that goes, and so do we on offense. So we started the scouts this week. In the midst of that, we had an inside period every day. Occasionally would have a team run period. But then, both sides of the ball kind of face the same thing. I mean, there's different defensive packages present different things that our defense doesn't, and same with our offense. So, that's the thing. And the ultimate battle in football is you want to go good on good as much as you can, but your top level needs to work on what they're going to do, and then you go to the scouts. And the good news is that if you're getting really good scout work, and we're headed that direction. I don't think we're there yet, but we've only been at it for 3 days on it. If you're getting really good scout work that really duplicates it well, it allows you to be contested, but also get in a rhythm and execute what you want to do. But you hope the tempo's there with the scouts, and I think the more they get acclimated to doing that and then duplicating what we're asking them to do on both sides of the ball, the better it gets. If you go good on good like we did last scrimmage, then it's it's kind of like everybody out there swinging axes just to keep their head above water, because the guy across from you, I mean, he's crazy good too, and he's also familiar with your plays. We're familiar with their defenses. They're familiar with our offense. So, it's literally just a war. And, it's like two guys standing on a line slugging each other. If you go with the scouts, you can get in a nice rhythm, but, you'd like to raise the speed and competition. And so you're trying to get a happy medium of those two things.
Coach, when you take into account that you didn't have a spring practice, how close to having 100% of what you want to have done before the first game are you?
Well, that's never happened. And it's probably not going to this time. But relatively speaking, I think we're on schedule. I think I think we've got to be kind of smart about limiting. Some things need to be polished and put in gradually, and I think we've got to be smart about not asking our players to do things they can't do at this point, and leaning on what they can really execute well, and then polish up some of the other more elaborate stuff.
We'll go ahead and get it back to Ben, and then we'll go back to Joel again. Ben, go ahead.
Mike, I know we've seen it at some other schools around the country, but are you anticipating any guys missing stuff for COVID-related stuff, or is that something
you got to say louder, something about COVID.
Are you guys anticipating missing any guys related to that going into week one, or is that something y'all are even going to release?
Well, we're not going to release it. I don't have any idea. Everybody just got tested today, so we're all hoping for the best.
Definitely. And then just real quickly, I know we talked about Garrett last week and bringing him along at receiver. Do you feel like he's going to be a guy that can be ready to play some receiver week one, or do you feel like he's going to take a little time to come along there?
Not sure week one. He does a lot of really good things. He's a big target. He's athletic. He's one of those guys that's always happy to be out there. The other thing is, he doesn't mind running. We got to get him in shape, but he likes to run. And then, the other thing, when he's got the ball in his hands, he's pretty good. He seems pretty excited. And to be perfectly honest with you, at least lately, you go out there and as you're plugging through practice, he's kind of one of those guys that makes you excited to be out there, and he's quieter about it, but, he's bouncing around and cheering, and, and he's fearless, so I like that.
Kind of in the same vein of what Ben asked earlier, not sure if you guys would even disclose this or not, but as far as whether it's injury or something else, is there anybody that you know of that wouldn't be available for the first game as you sit here 9 days out?
No, we don't really disclose that. I can't think of anybody, but there could be. Shoot, I'm kind of a coach the guys that are there, and so I don't know. Knock on wood, so far so good.
We'll go ahead and get it to Tyler. Tyler, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned in the past couple press conferences finding the guys that you think are going to play the most at wide receiver and then channeling the reps to them at practices. How much of that has happened over the course of the last week or so, and how have those guys that you think are going to be your go-to receivers, how are they looking in practices?
A portion of that, we've done a portion of that. We got to draw it together even tighter. I think that I would say work in progress would be the best way to describe a lot of it. Some is we got all different speeds of it. To be honest with you, we've got freshmen who are very urgent, that are explosive and do some really good things. That we just since it's new to them, we have to do the best job we can coaching them and again, putting them in a position where they can be successful. A few of them, their motors don't run as fast as you would like. And, in football, and the urgency's got to be a little more important to them. And then some of the others, will really do something, make a great play, and then, cruise it a little bit. We've got to get rid of that. We've got to get, it's very important to us to make the next play no matter how good the last one was. We do have some explosive guys. We're explosive. We're raw in some areas, technique-wise. We're enthusiastic. And then, so I see more good than I do bad. But the other thing is, like a really good competitive player, you'd like to see him really take over a position. And we need more of that. But then also, when you do channel the reps to specific guys as they kind of reveal themselves, that helps that effort as well.
You mentioned some guys doing something really good and then maybe coasting, or I don't know if that you consider that taking a play off or whatever it might be. At this point in training camp, how usual is that, or is it just a case-by-case basis? And then how do you coach against that, or is that just kind of a constant fight throughout the course of the season?
Well, there's elements of it that are a constant fight. I think some of the freshmen have come here really ready to play, just really competitive guys, really ready to play, and some of them are going to play. And then, which I don't have anything to base it on really. Some guys, last year that folks around here weren't quite as excited about, we're pretty excited about it, but that's the thing, guys change, guys evolve. And so, we want to capture as much of that as we can. And then, that one thing is some of those inconsistent guys are just guys that need to play with more confidence. And, we got to generate some of that. It's kind of like, John Madden said, the ultimate catch-22 is, confidence breeds success. Well, success breeds confidence. So, somewhere we got to just decide to be confident,
Ben, go ahead.
Mike, a little bit about what Brian was asking earlier, but with a team like LSU with as much turnover as they have, how early can you start preparing for a team like that? Or you kind of just have to control what you're doing in camp, and then you get, a week, 2 weeks out and start looking at what they're doing?
Well, we've started some this week, so we watch film of the schemes and stuff like that. You got to do a little homework because they lost 2 coordinators. And then, the personnel thing's tricky. Because some guys aren't playing, some guys are, were seniors, they're just gone, and so you try to blend that, and I'll be the first to tell you it's tricky. You take a little comfort in knowing that they're going through some transition over there themselves, but as far as deciphering. Deciphering the whole thing. I just thought of Indiana Jones, but just deciphering the whole thing is a little tricky. This guy can do this, he can do that. Well, a lot of times the guy behind him is just as good or better, and then. But I think the transition. I mean, we're happy. I guess that they're going through some transition, but what that is exactly, we're trying to sort that. Some of it we're not going to find out till next Saturday.
Got time for a few more. We'll go ahead and get it to Brian.
I can come up with 1,000 cliches to describe the past 7 months. Just for you, getting to this point from not having spring and going through everything we've had to go through. For you personally, how excited are you just to get into game week and start focusing on an opponent?
Well, I'm excited about it for sure, and actually wish we'd started earlier. But it's not like we didn't need the time as well. The practice time and all those things. But I'm just excited about the day to day. Every day we get to practice. Every day we see something different. More positive than negative, and then every day we go watch the film. Every day we figure out what we can try to improve on, and so make the most of each day. I mean, that's all you got, really. I mean, I know that everybody wants to look ahead, and we want to too, but we're not going to be any good if we look ahead too far. We got to make the most out of each day, and we're definitely at that stage. Not having the spring and then the camp in the traditional sense where it's all of us together, because our entire practice period, if you think about it, school's been going the entire time.
We'll go ahead and wrap it up with Steve. Steve, you got the last one.
Coach, you mentioned there were some guys you wish would kind of take ownership of some position groups. Do you have some guys out there that have done that? And so who are they?
Well, and the good news is it's quite contested. I think Peyton has really stepped up and really done a good job. But he's got some guys on his heels. He's got Spivey nipping away at him, and then some combination of Schrader, and then over there at Y you've got Austin Williams, who's very consistent, Jaden Wally, who's very explosive. And then Cumbus, who's big and strong hands, and all of a sudden you think there's no way a guy can catch the ball, and he just muscles his way into it. On the outside, I've been pleased as a freshman, but there's still some freshman elements, with Tulu. Cam Gardner, I think there's going to be a day when Cam comes out of his shell, and he's really good. Malik's really explosive, but we've got to make that an every down thing. I would say Osiris is like Malik. He's explosive, but it's got to be an every down thing. I think Shavers is becoming more consistent. I don't really have him as outright consistent, but getting better for sure. Who's the other Z? I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head. There's another one too. Anyway, the other Z, with all due respect to him, I think he's got a chance, and we just got to keep loading them in there and rolling.
Thank you, Coach, for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Good to see you guys again.